our public comment. Our next item on the agenda is an update on tree removal, and I think Warren Connors is here, our tree warden.
Well, as most of you know, we were hit with 2 severe storms this year, and that has created a lot of intensive work throughout town. We've exhausted some funds in that process, and we're seeking to transfer some money from another line item that covers some of those costs. In addition to that, there's been an ever-growing list pending to do some work, and at present there isn't funds in place to address those trees. We still have some hanging limbs out there that the allocation of funds that we appropriated had the equivalent of 5 days with 2 crews out there removing limbs, and we've probably got another 5 to 10 days to complete what we were aware of in town. We've also had significant costs with the cleanup effort, and we've also had a couple brush grinds this year to cover the processing of that material, so we have space for anything else that may come in over the winter. So what we'd probably be looking for is funding approval somewhere in the neighborhood of $50,000 from our road maintenance account to cover those current expenditures. And it could escalate, as the year progresses, depending on what winter storms might do to us.
So just so everyone will know, how much have we spent so far this year on tree removal as a result of the storms?
The actual process, it equates to about $72,000 to date. We have an additional $12,000 that was allocated for the emergency work to remove the hanging limbs. Ordinarily, we probably, the budget, what I request in the operating budget for tree maintenance is about $20,000 a year. Historically, we increase that. As the year progresses, we do a fund transfer, and it might equate to about $40,000 a year on average. And that's a historic trend.
So in this fiscal year, we anticipate spending?
Well, given the pending list and the unknowns that are out there, I'd probably say that we're going to have a $50,000 expenditure in this new fiscal year.
Now, we anticipate some reimbursement from the federal government in relation to the
That's right.
tree removal?
We have submitted a FEMA reimbursement for about 40,000.
It'd be about 40,000 total for to cover.
So
the
we may get
expenditures.
some or a portion of, or maybe all of that, but we're not sure yet.
And you've prepared a list of trees that you have identified as necessary for removal from a safety standpoint?
Right,
Yeah.
right. As I'm traveling around, or I get reports from residents or my staff, I keep a list just for reference. As they're addressed, obviously the list is ever changing. Most of what we had from a damage perspective wasn't the trees that were on a list. They were healthy trees that snapped because they were had leaves on them and the snow load on them that they snapped. Between that and the wind, so the list is a reference. But as the storms gave us, the two storms, one in August and one in October, they were basically not trees that I had scheduled for removal. They were either live trees or trees that uprooted as a result of the high winds.
So the trees didn't cooperate in falling down that you would identify.
Right.
Basic story.
Right.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions of Warren?
That's only on town roads, correct?
Just town roads and all town land, town properties. There's other areas, some of the parks properties and things like that there are some trees that have to be addressed.
So like Amity Road?
Nothing on state roads.
Okay.
Nothing on state roads. The state is responsible. When we note those, I usually call DOT, or DOT has their own people that go out and patrol. So this is strictly town roads. There's nothing on private property. There's nothing on state land.
All right, because I saw DOT in my yard on Amity Road.
Okay.
So they were out there.
Well, their setback line goes a little bit further than ours does typically. And again, there are trees that residents report to them. There's trees that get reported to us and we convey that information to them. There's some trees that their list that I've reported, they stood there for a couple of years actually.
Right, well, these weren't even reported, but when I saw them up there, I actually went up to, they were cutting them up, putting them into their chipper.
Well,
And I told them I'd take them, they just cut them and they rolled them down the hill and they left them for me, I cut them up and I'll be burning them in.
they'll do that, I guess. We do it for residents as well. If we know that people can come by and pick it up, we try to size it so that they can
Right.
do it. We don't want to manage the material.
Right, they're actually blocking the lane on Amity Road. They actually had it blocked, they actually had to drop the trees onto Amity.
Well, ever since the storm event, I think that they've been a little more proactive in their removal process because I've seen trees that I've identified that they should be coming down and they've addressed that. So I think they're being a little more proactive in their approach as well.
Along those lines, Warren, what's the town's relationship with UI, and is there some plan in the works for UI to step up to the
UI has been, let's say, over the last 8-10 years, has been very cooperative with us. I usually call them, and it's a very short window for them to come and address a known problem. They have scheduling just like I do. They fit it in, and they've been more than cooperative. They did the townwide trimming. It took them more than a year to address that. But in that process, if it's on someone's property, they usually leave a note on the door, knock on the door, and try to seek out permission. They just don't remove them, even though it's within the town's right of way. There's a lot of people that refuse the access, and there's either under wires or near poles, near transformers, and the residents refuse. They just don't want them touched. And in part, that creates a problem. So all the things that are going on statewide, if the residents refuse permission, they are in part creating some of the havoc that's created during the storms.
so the town can't look to the utility company for further assistance?
Well, we do, and as we identify anything that's in their proximity for them to address, they will do that. I haven't had any refusals on their part. They've been more than cooperative, I think, with our town.
Any further questions of Warren? We will have a fund transfer later on.
Yep.
To address your concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Warren. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the South Central Regional Council of Governments Regional Performance Initiative Grants Resolution, and you have in your packet two resolutions, the first of which concerns a performance incentive program proposal to establish a regional web-based GIS program. And in a nutshell, this proposal requests $591,028 from the Regional Performance Incentive Program for the purpose of creating a regional web-based geographic information system program. All 15 municipalities which are in this SCROG, including Woodbridge, provide certain services utilizing GIS technology. The intent of the program is to provide a uniform database that can be easily accessed by municipal staff, general public, and other GIS users. This proposed program is unique from the existing municipal GIS services as it integrates economic, transportation, land use, and demographic data into a regional context. The SCROG board voted unanimously to support the program, and now we're being asked to endorse that resolution to obtain this money. Woodbridge now does not have a GIS system. 8 of the communities in the SCROG do. It will take 2 years to complete this. The SCROG staff will maintain the system. The cost, if all every community did it alone, would be over $4 million. The cost of SCROG on this, from this regional performance incentive program is, as I said, approximately $519,000. It is anticipated that this would result in an estimated mill rate reduction of 0.229. So you have in your packet a resolution. They're asking all 15 towns to support this regional performance incentive program to establish a regional-based GIS program. So I entertain a motion to adopt that resolution that's in your packet.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. And then the other resolution is in regard to an inter-municipal shared services feasibility study. And this proposal requests $54,581 from the Regional Performance Incentive Program for the purpose of conducting an inter-municipal shared services feasibility study. The SCROG board voted unanimously to support the proposed study. This study will identify and prioritize the best opportunities for multi-town collaboration to achieve cost savings in the provision of services and performance of governmental operations. We'll also consider possible cost-saving collaborations between municipalities and boards of education, as well as possibilities for intermunicipal equipment sharing. So there, again, there's a resolution in your packet, and I would entertain a motion to adopt that resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, the next item on the agenda is to reschedule our March meeting, which is scheduled for March 14 to March 7, 2012. And I'd entertain a motion to do that.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. The next item on our agenda is report of the Personnel Committee. Personnel Committee met this afternoon, and we have two items to take up, one of which is a increase in the rate of pay for the clerk administrative assistant to the fire department, and to change the title to administrative assistant. Tony, you want to?
Yes, the current clerk administrative assistant is at a rate of $16.08 per hour, and the recommendation is to increase that to $19.97 per hour, and that basically reflects a similar wage of similarly situated positions throughout town for the same type of work. So it's a situation where you have an employee who's not being paid what other employees are to do similar type of work. So it's sort of the reason there.
So the
And she works 18 hours, roughly budgeted for work 18 hours per week.
Personnel Committee met this afternoon and recommended that pay increase, so I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. The next item that the Personnel Committee considered was increase in compensation for the fire chief and deputy fire chief. And Chris, I don't know if you're here on that or not, or we'll just take it ourselves.
I understand it's already been discussed, so.
Yeah, okay. So we met this afternoon on both of those requests, and Tony, do you want to give us the details?
Certainly. The chiefs and the assistant chief currently get a stipend, which is a monthly stipend for their, and the chief is currently at $15,666, and the recommendation is to increase that to $20,000 per year, and the assistant chief is currently at $66,02, and the recommendation for that is $10,000 per year, and that is retro back to January 1st.
So for budgetary purposes, it would be half of that amount for the remaining fiscal year.
Correct.
And over the past year, as you all know, the activities of the fire department have increased considerably. I think it's probably been the busiest year in the history of the fire department in light of the two storms we had in August and in October. But in addition to that, even with that, I'm told there are 80 additional calls over the year 2010, apart from the storm, the hurricane, and the snowstorm. So, and the Personnel Committee met this afternoon and voted to recommend those increases. So I would entertain a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Second.
there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstentions?
1.
5, 0, 1 abstention. Okay. The next item on the agenda is appointments to the Country Club of Woodbridge Commission. And we've received 15 resumes for appointment to the Country Club of Woodbridge Commission from very competent and talented residents. And we thank them all for their interest in serving Woodbridge. The ordinance establishing the Country Club of Woodbridge Commission provides that the commission shall consist of 7 members nominated by the first selectman and approved by the Board of Selectmen. The ordinance provides that the term of office of the initial appointee shall expire in rotation as provided by the charter, so that the term of not more than 3 of the members shall expire at the same time. The appointments are also governed by the minority representation statute, so the commission can have more than 4 members of any one party. So in connection with that, I nominate for a term to expire on June 30, 2015, Andrew M. Esposito, Jr. He is an executive with over 47 years of P&L experience in startup and turnaround of small and medium domestic and international high-tech companies. He served as a management consultant and private investor with excellent financial, strategic planning, research, and development and marketing skills. He is presently the Chief Operating Officer of Inner Armour in Bloomfield, Connecticut, which manufactures sports nutrition powders, I guess it is. He's a graduate of Boston College. His professional experience has included membership on the board of directors of the Orange National Bank, a member of the Regional Advisory Board of the Connecticut Bank and Trust, a member of the Inland Wetlands Commission in Woodbridge. He's also been a member of the Racebrook Country Club. He's a past president of Woodbridge Fathers League, past president of the Amity Club. He's a trustee of the Church of the Assumption in Woodbridge, and he is a Republican. So I would nominate him. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, actually, he's one of the candidates that we were planning on nominating, so I would prefer to nominate him as opposed to second or...
Well, under the ordinance, the first
Right,
selectman.
no, I understand, so we do support Andrew Esposito for the position.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. The next person I would nominate is Adolph Luciani for a term to expire on June 30, 2015. He's a lifelong resident of Woodbridge, a 1958 graduate of Amity High School, and a 1962 graduate of the University of Connecticut with a degree in business administration. He served as an agent with Equitable Life Assurance in 1964 and was promoted to district manager in 1966. In 1967, he achieved the designation of Chartered Life Underwriter. In 1977, he founded the Group Insurance Associates. It's located at 8 Hazel Terrace in Woodbridge. He's one of the original founders of the Woodbridge Fathers Baseball League. He serves on the Finance Committee and Parish Council of Our Lady of the Assumption Church. He's a former member and chairman of the Woodbridge Recreation Commission. He was a member of the Woodbridge Country Club of Woodbridge Liaison Committee. He is also a Republican, so I would nominate Mr. Luciani. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. I would next nominate for a term to expire on June 30, 2015, Derek D. Conchius. His background is in banking. He's done commercial credit and workout, corporate planning, budgeting, and profit accounting, and commercial and real estate workouts. He's a graduate of Colgate University. He's presently been involved in real estate advisory, buys and management problem real estate assets, commercial brokerage, debt and equity financing. He's had considerable experience with golf courses. He at one time has been a member of 4 different private golf courses, most recently Racebrook. He's been director of 2. He's been chairman of the finance, green, and tournament committees at country clubs, and he's had other committee involvements at country clubs. He's an ardent golfer. He's also have been a member of the Country Club of Woodbridge Liaison Committee, and he is a Republican. I would seek a second to that nomination.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those, if no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. I would next nominate Karen T. Kusick of 6 Diana Drive in Woodbridge for a term to expire on June 30, 2013. She is the president and co-owner of Cusick and Company LLC, which assists clients in all aspects of financial planning, tax preparation, and a full range of accounting and management services. Before she moved to Woodbridge, she lived in Seymour, and in Seymour she was a member of the Board of Selectmen and served 1 year as Deputy First Selectman. She is also a member of the Seymour Library Board of Directors and Board of Assessment Appeals. She also served as Chairman of the Public Works Commission and on the Culture and Arts Commission, Emergency Services Building Committee, and the Sesquicentennial Committee, and she served as chairman of that. She also has a number of volunteer services, and in Woodbridge she is a member of the Library Commission, and she most recently was the chair of the subcommittee for the renovation of the Woodbridge Room, and she is a Democrat. I will look for a second to that nomination.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those,
I just wanted to suggest an alternate Democrat that I put forth, Tim Kelly. I think he moved here 7 years ago. He's a state-owned dad. He's really involved in future BPO. Got a good business background, an MBA, and excellent candidate.
all right, so then, is there a second to that? I mean, I don't, okay. So we have on the floor then a nomination of Karen T. Kusick. So all those in favor of Karen T. Kusick for a term to expire on June 30, 2013, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Two opposed, so it's 4-2. All right, I next nominate for a term to expire on June 30, 2013, Phyllis Janelle of 30 Richard Sweet Drive in Woodbridge. She's a graduate of Simmons College in Boston. She also has a Master of Business Administration from the University of New Haven. She served as a lecturer in the Department of Management and Marketing at the University of New Haven and as an adjunct at Southern Connecticut State University. She was the manager of tennis and fitness facilities at the Jewish Community Center of Greater New Haven. She's been an associate at Elston Realtors and Harriet Cooper Realtors, as well as Caldwell Banker. She's been involved in the League of Women Voters in Woodbridge and Bethany. She's served on the Recreation Commission of the town of Woodbridge from 1977 to 1996 and served as its chair from 1982 to 1996. She was a member of the Democratic Town Committee and was involved in the Woodbridge Road Race. And she received a citation from the Connecticut General Assembly in 1998 for her service to the town of Woodbridge. She has been a competitive tennis player and also a competitive golfer. She has been a member of the Woodbridge Country Club, and since 2009 she has been an active golfer at the Country Club of Woodbridge. I would nominate Phyllis Janelle and look for a second.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
I wasn't sure by reading her resume if she served on the board of Woodbridge Country Club or whether she was on the Greens Committee.
Yeah, I asked her that, asked her of that question, and she did not serve on the board, as far as I know. Any other comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? What is that, 4, is it 5-1 or 4?
No, I put it for.
Okay, 5 in favor, one no. All right, I would next nominate Alan Ufflin of 19 Overhill Road, Woodbridge. He graduated from Boston Technical High School and Northeastern University with a Bachelor in Education. He's had an extensive work history in investments, and founding Investors Diversified Services, which was then bought by American Express. He retired from American Express in 2000, and presently he's involved with Upland and Associates, a financial advisory practice from 2005 to the present. He's a former president of the Provost Club of Hamden. He's a founder and director of the USTA tennis event, which eventually became the Pollard Penn Open. He's been a fundraiser for the Provost Club of Hamden. He served on the board of directors of the Woodbridge Country Club from 1990 to 2001. He was a former president of the Woodbridge Country Club from 1998 to 1999. And he served on various membership committees of the Woodbridge Country Club. He has been a member of the Liaison Committee for the Country Club of Woodbridge. So I would nominate Alan Upland and look for a second.
Second.
May I ask what the term would be?
His term would be for June 30, 2013. And is there any discussion?
I just ask that we reconsider because I really believe strongly nothing against this candidate. He's a fellow resident and he's willing to volunteer, and he already has volunteered this time. But I think we're making a mistake by putting former board members on this commission.
No, and I agree. I just think it sends a wrong message, and I understand it was 10 years ago, but it's just the, I just don't think it looks good putting a former president of the club on the committee, so I would be opposed.
Any other comments?
Well, I wanted to say that conversely to your points, well taken, but he has a familiarity, I think, that would serve as an asset to this commission because of his affiliation and because of his former leadership position, albeit 10 years ago.
Right, no, I understand that, and that's, you know, that's the response I've heard from others when I've discussed this with them. And I've talked to quite a few people about this committee over the last couple of weeks, or this commission, and you know, I can appreciate him having an understanding of the past history of the club, but moving forward, I don't see what that serves. I think that we've had a number of studies done on the club, and it's not really an issue of looking back, it's an issue of looking forward. What do we need to do to make the facility work, get it up to date, get the course up and going. We've got PGA people come in and looked at the course and made studies of the course and what needs to be known at the course. And you know, nothing against Alan. I just think that you know, he was past president, and the response I've heard from people in town is that if they were on the board before, they don't want us going forward. So I echo that. I don't support that, and you know, 10 years ago was fine, but I still think that we need to look forward, not back.
Okay. Is there any-
We also don't have anyone with tennis expertise on this committee, and he brings that.
I know. I think we had someone else who plays tennis, who was done a lot of tennis, who was put on the board.
Who is it?
Phyllis.
Phyllis?
Yeah.
She plays tennis. He has expertise in running tennis
I know.
events.
It's the
Just
whole
bring
board
that up.
issue, and I think it's just a perception, and
He
a
was
lot of
also-
people have that perception.
He was also the one, I believe, that brought to our attention the fact that the greens were not being aerated, if you recall, and
Right, but we've had studies done that can point that out. We'll bring in experts to do all that work, and I mean, I'm not expecting him to go out and inspect the course. I'm not expecting anyone in the commission to go out and do that. I just think that the commission is put there to look at the best thing for the club, and I'd rather not have someone who's looking back saying, well, when we were doing it then, this is what we did. Not really concerned about that. I'm looking about moving forward and getting this up and going, and a long-term strategy going forward as to what we're going to do with the club long-term. We keep the club, we get rid of the club, and I'm afraid if we have people on there that have been members before, and they're not looking at it, if the decision's made to move forward and not maintain it as a course. I don't want a couple people on there with kind of a, you know, emotional tie to it.
He's committed to doing that. I've talked to him
I
about
understand.
that. Okay.
It's just like-
So is there any other comments? If not, all those in favor of Alan Upland for a term ending on June 30, 2013 signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed? 4-2. And finally, for a term to expire on January 15, 2013, I nominate Roger Harrison, who has an MBA from Syracuse University. He's worked for General Mills in marketing. He served as Senator Biden, now Vice President Biden's administrative aide while Senator Biden was a senator, managing his Washington and Wilmington offices. He was also Aeromax contract management of fleet maintenance, and he was assistant to the chairman of a regional home improvement chain. As you know, he was elected our first selectman for 2 terms, and he's presently a member of the Conservation Commission. And he has served as a member of the board of directors of the Woodbridge Country Club, and also has served as a liaison, as a member of the Country Club of Woodbridge Liaison Committee. So I nominate Roger Harrison, and I look for a second.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Not to talk about the same issue again, but my understanding is Roger was on the board when the club closed, and I can't say, you know, Maria's comment that he said he was not aware of it. I guess I didn't hear that directly from Roger, but I feel like it's actually one step further than someone who was president 10 years ago. I also think that, again, Roger's a fellow resident. He's put a lot of time into this town. No one should take any of that away from him. But there's a perception that some of these appointments are some of the same people. And then some of these people sit on multiple boards. So there's, I don't know about all of these resumes, but I know Lance Delacroce was a resume that I put forward, and I know Tim Kelly. These are people who don't currently serve on any board. They want to get involved with the town, and they actually have totally relevant experience, and they're great picks. And I can't believe we're passing them over. Nothing against Roger, but he's actually involved in a board already, and he was a former member, so I'm at a loss for why that's a better choice than some of the other picks we had.
Yeah, but I mean, to follow that line of reasoning, you voted for Andy Esposito, who currently serves on the Woodbridge Board of Finance and on the Beecher Road School Building Committee, so he's
And on the golf liaison committee.
so I'm not sure which is the litmus test.
Well, you know, I don't think it's fair to criticize, you know, we can all have our opinions, but these people are prominent members of our committee, of our community. And, you know, I've had a conversation with Roger. He shares the same views that Tom has exhibited here about the future of this golf course and what we're going to do with it. He's open-minded about that. There have been also some rumors made that either Alan or Roger received some financial compensation as a result of the sale or the purchase of a country club by the town of Woodbridge. Neither one of them received anything. They didn't own any bonds or anything. So I've convinced myself that these people have an open mind about this. They're willing to give their time to it. They are, in Roger's case, a former leader of our community. And I hear your concerns, but I don't think they raise to the point of disqualifying him. And listen, we're all looking to solve this in the most professional way we can, and to look forward to see how we're going to use this country club in the future. In the meantime, we have to run it on a prudently financial basis, and I think with this the 7 members of this Country Club of Woodbridge Commission, we will achieve that. And so I hear what your concerns are, but I think I'm confident that your concerns will not be a problem in regard to either Alan Upman or Roger Harrison.
Well, I'm not saying that there will be problems. I'm just saying there's a perception that we're putting people on the commission who were a part of the club, and the club went under. And not to have anything to do with them, but it's just that we're putting the same people back on. And it was not necessarily my litmus test, if that's the word you want to use. I don't have a litmus test other than the fact that I wanted to get people involved with this commission. We have so many qualified people. You said yourself,
We
you
do.
get 15 resumes from people in town that are interested in serving on this commission. And it would have been nice to have some of them on as opposed to, you know, people who have served on the club in the past. And that was the biggest concern that I had heard from residents that I talked to about their concerns, is that you know, they didn't want to have people who were involved with the club on the commission. And that's just, you know, I tend to agree with that. So.
Yeah, well, I try to balance this by party affiliation, by work experience, by leadership positions in the community, by dedicated and demonstrated interest in serving the community. And so, you know, it's,
No, we
appreciate
can
your remarks.
respectfully disagree.
we can, and we will and do.
We will. So,
Okay, all right, so there's a motion on the floor which has been seconded. All those in favor of Roger Harrison for a term ending on January 15, 2013, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
opposed.
4-2. And just so that we'll all know that the first meeting of the Country Club of Woodbridge Commission will be on Friday, January 13 at 9 a.m. in this room. And I know that we should appoint a liaison to that committee. And Susan Jacobs has indicated an interest in serving as a liaison. So if there are no others, I'd recommend that she serve as the liaison. These are public meetings, they're open, any member of the Board of Selectmen can attend, and
Will they all be at 9 a.m.? Because
that'll be up.
It won't be.
No, I understand that. They'll set the time for their meetings after that, but that's a convenient date for the first meeting anyways.
This-
And
This might be something we would definitely try to get videotaped and out, if we can find the funds somehow for the public. That's a possibility.
okay,
Because
we'll
they
look
are
into that.
certainly, you know, for people who can't make meetings at 9 in the morning. If that's a possibility, I think that would be really good.
And-
In keeping with open,
Right.
keeping this open.
And then we do have a meeting scheduled for January 25th, a regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Selectmen, and if the Country Club of Woodbridge Commission is making progress, we may have a joint meeting at that time to bring us up to date on what their review of the 5 proposals that we've received. Okay? Well, thank you all for your interest and your comments. And that gets us to the Director of Finance and Operations report. And the first item is your monthly report.
Okay, thank you. This is a monthly report for the first 6 months of the fiscal year. And the result is a budgetary surplus of just shy of $90,000. That is, leaves us with a projected fund balance of a little under $4 million, or 9.3% of our budget at the end of the year. Some highlights for you in our revenue section. There's a surplus projected intergovernmental revenue of about $52,000. There are 3 main items in there. One is a municipal video competition grant for $22,000, which we've discussed. Another is a retiree drug subsidy reimbursement for $6,200. And finally, we are starting to receive the state revenue sharing, which was in the budget last year, but came out after our budget was approved in the approval phase. So we've received our first payment of that. That's for the year should be about $24,000. So that's where our surplus comes from. On our charge for services, there's an anticipated surplus in both conveyance fees and building permits of about $20,000 each in comparison to budget. So we're doing well in those 2 categories also. On our expenditures, we have a surplus of about $27,000 in the liability insurance. Waste management has an anticipated surplus in waste, mostly in tipping fees, of about $30,000 this year. And finally, there's some expenditures in beginning to incur expenses for the Country Club of Woodbridge operating as of January 1st, 2012. So far, we've began to incur expenditures with electricity, heat, water, security, and a number of other minor issues. So there's a transfer for that later on in your package.
Any questions? Okay, the next item is a funding request. And the first is a line item transfer number 1112-14, $10,463.
And actually, I have a amendment to this one. One of the expenditures in here, let's see, the security expenditure is, if you see there's a tax sheet which has some of the expenditures that were in the account. This is for maintenance items in the fire department. There's a damage to a security camera, and that was $3,500. And we're hopeful that that will be reimbursed through FEMA. We've applied for that reimbursement.
What was that?
Through FEMA, because it was damaged during the storm.
Oh, I'm just curious, what camera?
I'm not sure which one of
Those are
those
big.
it is.
We should be asking you that.
I'm not sure which camera it was.
This is
elevator
We could review the tape.
Oh, we have
No, we
that?
can't.
Uh-huh.
Broken.
Elevator door switch.
So,
Camera, elevator, door swipe, doorbell.
Yeah, there's a few issues that we had during the storm. So that can be reduced. Transfer.
by $3,500?
Correct.
Okay.
And so, what we're requesting, however, is, speaking with the chief, and there's currently no funds remaining in the line for medical services, primarily for physicals. He would like to get some more additional funds in that account. So we thought maybe we would transfer the $3,500 into that account. That's the request. That's not on here, it was sort of after this was handed out, which this all came about.
So, we have a line item transfer here, $10,463, we're gonna reduce by $3,500 to
Correct.
$6,963.
Correct.
This is for building maintenance and repair costs at the Woodbridge Fire Station.
Correct.
Okay,
Right.
So we're just
So-
adjusting where that 3,500 will land.
Correct. Right.
well, why don't we take up
We're gonna do
first,
this
You could certainly do them separately, absolutely, yep.
Yeah.
so,
Okay.
so the minutes will
Right,
be
okay.
easier to understand, okay. So I'd entertain a motion to approve line item transfer number 1112-14 in the amount of $6,963. Is
So moved.
there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, next.
Okay, then, there's the transfer of $3,500 from the repair and maintenance testing line to medical services line of $3,500.
What number do you want to give that?
For transferring it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be 1112
14A.
Yeah, 14A,
14A.
yeah.
So moved.
And how much is that?
3,500.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is line item transfer number 1112-15, $45,000.
This is the transfer to cover the expenditure for AKF Consulting for an energy audit and sustainability upgrade study for the Beecher Road School Building Committee project, which was presented earlier in the evening. You can see there's a number of expenditures from capital projects that were either completed and had funds remaining in them or were never undertaken, and so there are no contingency funds here.
So the Woodbridge Board of Ed is
Pretty much with all their
moving
capital.
their budget around.
Right, these are capital funds, however, and capital funds are managed by the Board of Selectmen.
There's still
Right.
town funds.
Just
Okay,
do
I
town
just want to
funds,
make
yeah.
that, everyone to understand that was not coming out of contingency,
Right.
now it's actually coming from the Board of Education.
Right.
Okay. So I'd entertain a motion to approve line item transfer number 1112-15, amount of $45,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is funding request number 1112-16, $6,240.
In our budget process last year, there was a request to put monies in the budget to fund the Human Services Food and Fuel Fund. And that was taken out of the budget, but was agreed that the town on a semi-annual basis would match whatever was collected by Human Services up to $10,000 for the food and fuel fund out of contingency. That was discussed, I think, mainly at the Board of Finance. So far to December 31st, 2011, they collected $6,240. So this is a match for that. They'll go into the
So
town food and
this is
fuel
in
fund.
lieu of the 10,000.
Right, so now at the end of June, we'll see how much they collected, and you'll fund up to 10,000.
So we're actually making out better.
Okay. So entertain a motion to approve funding request number 1112-16, the amount of $6,240.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Finally, there's a line item transfer 1112-17 to the amount of $20,000.
And this is, I also spoke of this earlier, these are funds that will begin to cover operating expenses for the Country Club of Woodbridge. And there's a general fund group of accounts set up to track operating costs and building related costs for the country club. And so far, these are the expenditures that have that we can identify that will have already started. And that includes heating oil for $10,000, security for $3,200. That includes fire and burglar and low temperature alarms and that sort of thing. Propane for $3,200 and some emergency tree work for $3,600. That totals $20,000. Now the funds for this will be coming out of the Country Club of Woodbridge Fund to cover these expenses.
How long will that?
This will take us through the end of the fiscal year.
Any idea how much we've actually spent out of either the general fund or?
I do track that. I can report that next time. I don't have it
That's fine.
off the top of my head.
I meant to call you on that earlier. Was that on the phone? Yeah.
But I can present that next meeting. Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so I entertain a motion to approve line item transfer 1112-17, the amount of $20,000.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
One more. This is for warrant discussion for tree work. I apologize for its lateness, for not being in the package. These are is a transfer from road maintenance to contracted services to cover tree work that Warren spoke of earlier in the meeting. We have a total of $50,000. We have applied for FEMA reimbursement for $40,000 for the storm from the hurricane. There's also going to be a FEMA application for the storm Alfred. That hasn't been released yet. I think they're waiting until this hurricane one wraps up. So we may get additional funds. So we're hopeful that we can cover a lot of this. Some of this will, it's going to be additional work that will not be covered, as Warren indicated.
Okay, so I entertain a motion to approve line item transfer number 1112-18, the amount of $50,000.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion?
Is this meant to say fire commission?
No, it's not.
That's the requesting agency?
That should be
Okay.
finance.
Fine.
Yeah. Good catch.
Right.
Happens when I do them instead of Karen.
Okay. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. And then we have tax refunds, real estate refunds in the amount of $522.48, and motor vehicle refunds in the amount of $548.43. So I'd entertain a motion to approve those tax refunds.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. And then we'll just take up one other matter here and then, yeah. You'll see in the, your packet, there's a letter about the Woodbridge Small Cities Grant closeout. You want to just talk about that?
Sure. This was the second small cities grant we received for housing rehabilitation. It's for $300,000. We received one back in '04, I think, and then one in 2007. And for those of you who are new, this is a grant from DECD through HUD. It's a HUD grant through DECD, where we use the funds to pay for rehabilitation for housing for certain income eligible individuals in town. And it has to be certain types of work, roofs, furnace, stuff that's integral to the house and to the structure. Not new cabinets or anything like that. And then what happens is it's put on the land records, and then when the house transfers title, we get paid back the funds, but it's interest free. There's no interest that accrues, and
and then you roll it into another application. So that's supposed to be a program that sustains itself over time.
So you get paid back the funds out of the sale price?
Correct. Yeah, when the title transfers out the sale price, we get paid back the fund. Now, if you do it, you know, we just, for instance, we just received one for $16,250 about a week ago. Our first one.
But that money doesn't go back into the general fund,
No.
it goes back to the application.
Correct.
Right.
It's in a specific fund set up for this purpose.
Right.
It's regulated.
It's a rolling.
It's a rolling fund, right? And it's highly regulated by DECD. We have to send quarterly reports, and et cetera, et cetera.
So depending on how long they're in the house after the,
Yeah, for instance, if you spend $20,000 now and you don't sell your house for 20 years, then, you know, you get the time value of money there. And a lot of times it's folks you can't really afford it. You can put a new roof on,
right.
you know, or furnace.
It avoids blight.
Absolutely,
right?
So they have to
absolutely.
apply?
We've done some furnaces, we've done some lead abatement, we've done some.
They have
really
to
good
apply
things.
for the.
Yes, there's an application process.
And how do the residents know about it?
We had a media campaign, we had put out a lot of information on it. And we actually used all our funds for both projects, so when we identify a need, we can apply again.
Now, is the qualifications set up
They're set up by the state, by the federal
by
government.
the state, so
It's
you
mostly
can't
federal
determine,
requirements.
it's not, we're determining who gets
No.
it, it's, they have to meet federal requirements.
Correct. Yeah.
And there's income.
The income,
Right.
most of the income related.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then just finally, because Tony has to go to the Board of Finance meeting, we do have it in our packet, a letter from Benjamin Barnes congratulating us on getting a $500,000 grant, steep grant to renovate the police department.
Kudos.
Tony is gonna, so we'll suspend his presentation because there's a meeting of the Board of Finance, which will be short. So we'll continue on with the agenda with your approval by taking up the town clerk's report. And I'd entertain a motion to, acknowledge receipt of the town clerk's report. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. The next item on our agenda are our minutes for our August 10, 2011 regular meeting. And I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay,
No.
very good. Perfect. All those in favor of approving the August 10, 2011 minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. The next is the first selectmen's report, and since our last meeting, I attended the town holiday party at Antonio's, which was, I think we had the biggest attendance in recent memory. A number of you, I think all of us were there. And then I also attended the Woodbridge Volunteer Fire Association holiday party in Orange on December 17. I attended and spoke at the Eagle Court of Honor at B'nai Jacob for honoring Colby Schaefer as an Eagle Scout, and Senator Richard Blumenthal was also there, which was a welcome and a surprise guest there. As I just mentioned, we got a $500,000 steep grant from the state of Connecticut through Governor Malloy, and I called Governor Malloy and personally thanked him for that grant. And there will be further discussion about the possible extension of the Southern Connecticut gas line up through to the center of Woodbridge on Thursday, January 19 here at the town hall. I think I've talked about this earlier. The Southern Connecticut Gas Company is interested in extending that line up to take care of the center buildings, the town hall, the center building itself, the library, the fire department, Amity High School, B'nai Jacob, Church of the Assumption, and others. So that's,
What time is that?
that I think is it 9:30, Jerry?
I think it's 9:30, but Greg, I can email you and let you
Yeah.
know.
Thursday morning.
Thursday is Thursday, yeah. So that's my report. So, Tom.
Okay, Amity Board of Ed met on Monday, and they discussed and accepted the audited end of the year financial report, and they were found to be highly efficient for the third straight year. And received no management letter, and there were no recommendations for changes to procedures and policies, which according to the gentleman who was with the firm who audited them said that that was not common. Most schools have some issues, whether they're late reports or other types of things that the school needs to look at, but the Amity was highly efficient, and third year in a row, which I think is great. They also discussed and approved a fundraising efforts for a group of citizens looking to install an artificial turf at the high school over the existing football field. And the group needed the approval of the board to move forward to start raising funds. And it was made clear to the group that there were no funds available through the school, and that any fundraising efforts would be on the part of this group. And so they approved the formation of this group to start fundraising. And they were able to get that from the board. So they'll be moving forward with that and seeking corporate sponsorships and other funds from wherever they can get them, which is great because I think if anyone's actually been on the field at the high school, it's bad. And only football can play on it. None of the other teams can use the field because of the condition of the field. Soccer is wider, and the edge of the field where they'd be playing is very muddy, and it's just a mess. So the use of a turf field would allow all teams to play on it. They'd be able to schedule more games on the field. They'd be able to play games at night for different teams. So it'd be available for all the teams: football, soccer, lacrosse, field hockey. Any of those teams would be able to play there. So that's happening. They also discussed.
Sorry, Tom, can I interrupt?
Sure.
Did you say what their fundraising goal is? If you did, I missed it.
There was a study done a number of years ago with a price, and they weren't exactly sure what the total was going to be now, but upwards of 600,000, 700,000, 800,000, something like that. But I think they said that of all of the schools in our conference, we're one of two that have grass. I think the other field might be Lyman Hall. No, actually Lyman Hall has they have grass soccer field. They have turf football.
I think it's hand. Did it hand?
No, I think they have a new field as well. So there's one school in our conference that has grass. So two other than that.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So they'll be moving forward on that. And then they discussed a change to the budget calendar to accommodate the Orange Board of Finance meeting. They also discussed enrollment through 2017-18, and they're looking at a net loss of 328 students to the district over the next 7 years. And different numbers in the different junior high schools, but overall in the district they're looking at a loss of 328. Under the student report, they're having a clothing drive in Shelton at a battered women's shelter. They'll be collecting clothing for that drive. They also had mentioned that the Orange Fire Department is having an autism awareness program that's really dead on, is I guess more for first responders. That's what it's really geared for. But it's open to the public. It's Tuesday the 24th at the high school at 7 p.m. and the public is welcome. And they'll be talking about responding to residents who are autistic, who have medical problems, and how you deal with that. They also mentioned that there was a CNN program on indoor air quality, and CNN was doing a story on school districts that have poor air quality, and some schools that have turned it around. So we know that some of us, or most of us, are aware of the problems they've had at Amity High School with the air quality, and they've been featured in the CNN story as the school that turned it around. They're looking at other school, I think in Pennsylvania, is really bad. They've got some really bad issues that actually make the issues that are worse, not that bad.
Didn't Amity get an award for?
They already got an
Yes.
award for their quality. The program is gonna air on CNN on January 14th at 8 and 11, and on January 15th at 8 and 11. Sierra County. And the Superintendent Search Committee has chosen CAVE Search Services to assist them in their search for a new superintendent. And I think the big item of note was they had discussed at the last meeting possibly going to a district meeting format for approval of the budget. And the superintendent, after speaking with a number of towns, has made a recommendation that we stay with the referendum. They're not going to go forward. I think they said 1 out of 17 districts currently use a district meeting. So we would be the second. So he's recommending that we stay with the referendum. And I think those are the big issues. That's all I have.
Great, thanks, Tom. Greg?
There was a inland wetlands meeting on December 21st, so that included Vincent Esposito, so we have not heard they're applying and wanting to knock down Blue Check and rebuild it a little farther back on that property, so a little farther back toward the grass. And then I think also the entryway, the driveway that is on Center Road would be moved farther up the hill, so it's a little safer. And they had to be at inland wetlands because there's a retaining pond that also is going to be impacted. So, but that's interesting. The Woodbridge landmark. And there was a TPZ meeting on January 3rd. So Mr. DiNatale from formerly Oak Lane now has his use permit. I think there's still a step to go with the liquor, but the point is the process seems to be working through. Something that is interesting to hear is that he plans on getting rid of the pools, so he's just going to focus on golf and I think possibly the tennis, where it's kind of easy, you can almost sit out or something.
I think they're going to keep the bowl.
Right. So obviously that means it's not going to be a sort of traditional country club, and he's going to just focus on golf. He also agreed to have, I guess at the request of TPZ, he agreed to have only one event per day that doesn't include tournaments, and one event with 100 people or more. So you could perhaps have a wedding and a really small event. But one of the concerns of especially local residents was the amount of traffic activity, etc. So you would think it'll only be reduced compared to what it used to be, just because I know at some previous meetings the neighbors said the loudest thing was the pool and the activity by the pool, and that won't occur anymore. And so they are continue to be off and running. There was also a public hearing for a sign on 1 Bradley Road for Michael Dow. So they previously had a sign approved, and they were looking for a modification of that sign, a larger sign. Conservation Commission did not meet in January, and CUPOP did meet, but I actually did not have an update on that right now. That's it.
Thank you, Greg. Lawrence?
That the Recreation Commission has not met since the last time this board met. Its next scheduled meeting is Monday the 23rd. But the Woodbridge Board of Education has been busy. At its December meeting, the administration presented to the board a proposed operating budget for FY13, and it was a quite comprehensive presentation to the board. Of note, after some discussion, the board approved unanimously the proposed or requested operating budget for FY13. So not to steal any of the thunder from the board or from the administration, but that request for funding will come to this board and to the Board of Finance intact, with the tailwind of a unanimous vote from the Board of Education. And then the other important thing is the ongoing effort of the I'll say the Beecher Road School Building Committee 2, Roman numeral 2, which is meeting weekly to advance the work of the original building committee. As we heard earlier this evening, the recommendations made by the first committee were extensive and expensive, and so now this second group is working to phase in or make recommendations anyway for the phasing in of the full scope of Beecher Road School renovations, primarily to deal with heating, air conditioning, and ventilation. The first priority, as we heard again at the top of the meeting, is going to be the envelope of the building, and so we will likely be hearing from this Beecher Road School Building Committee about some requests for next year already to address the envelope. So that's a Reader's Digest for.
Thank you. Susan?
The Library Commission met on Monday. I can report that they ratified the FY13 operating budget, which had already been submitted to the town due to some technical difficulties. They weren't able to ratify it before they submitted it, but it is now pursuant to appropriate public motion and vote. Commission notice and vote been formally ratified. The Woodbridge Child Center requested use of the library as a secondary facility in case of an emergency, and the library approved that. A little bit alarming to think what kind of emergency could come up like that, but they have final numbers on the renovation of the Woodbridge room. The total project cost will be $84,984.18, leaving a positive balance in the library reserve fund of $39.8914. And the other thing of interest is there's a new position that they have approved called a senior page that's going to be created at the library. That's it.
Thank you. Beth?
Seems like a long time ago, but the Board of Fire Commissioners met December 19th, and they also reviewed and approved the current operating budget, and we'll be getting that soon. The Ladder Truck Committee has finally been appointed, and they're going to meet sometime in January, this month. There was an update from the chief on a recent house fire, and you'll hear about this. I don't know if we talked about it or not. The fire hose was run over by a citizen, I guess, at the fire scene, but they believe insurance will cover this, so hopefully it won't be, you know about it already, okay?
Was this after the fire was put out?
During, I guess somebody was trying to either, I'm not sure of the whole thing, but somebody either was trying to move away or get near, and they just ran over a fire hose and just wrecked it. So anyway, he updated us on some other necessary repairs to engine 7 and tanker 8, and they need some repairs to the portable pond and several flashlights. They are continuing work on the storage shed behind the firehouse. I believe the foundation work has begun, and it seems like it's almost a month old already, so probably further along, but I'm just reporting. Santa and Mrs. Claus were at the firehouse on December 17th, and the volunteers did go out and deliver gifts on 2 nights, with Wednesday, December 21st, and Thursday, December 22nd. The department is going to be holding a blood drive on Wednesday, January 28th at the firehouse from 1 to 6. And you will hear about this. I don't know. The calls are up enormously with the fire department, related somewhat to the storms, but also just for some reason there's about 80 calls already without the storms over what they were last year. They do a calendar year from January to December, and we're still up 80 calls. So the department has really been stepping up to help other departments as well, and morale is very high at the firehouse right now, as I understand my reports are. And the next commission meeting is Monday, January 23rd, due to the Martin Luther King holiday on the third Monday. And then I attended the Human Services Commission meeting on this past Monday, the 9th, and they also reviewed and approved the proposed operating budget. You'll hear more about it, but the stove that they have is apparently 1999 and it's falling apart. It takes about 20 minutes to boil water. So they are going to be putting in a request for a replacement stove. And I think that this is a worthy item that should be funded, but it'll be up to the boards. On March 15th, Marcia Leibowitz of the Children's Divorce Center and attorney Susan Jacobs, did you know this? Okay. We'll give an informational session for parents about divorce and blended families.
Oh, I heard about it, I didn't know there was a date.
Okay. Well, heads up. And there's a snow date as well of March 21st.
Or if I did, I forgot to write it.
Okay.
March 15th?
Yep, that's correct, and the snow date of March 21, so book that as well, just in case. They discussed in great detail concerns about data collection and things that they have to send to the state regarding anonymity of children. So I guess it was decided by the commission to recommend that Nancy Fund talk to the town attorney. Jerry's not here to know this, but I'm sure he's going to get a call from Nancy about this, to speak with the Department of Education and how they handle it, so they can maybe number it so that names aren't passed around, because they're very concerned about doing that. The department's going to sponsor a Home Alone course over spring break and a Red Cross babysitting course over winter break. Let's see, the Youth Services newsletter will be finished by the end of January and will include nomination information for the first Selectmen's Youth Award. Friday, December 9th, Youth Evening program was a video dance party with a DJ, lights, and video screens. Let's see, 27 Woodbridge households received December food baskets this year, and 8 of the baskets were given to senior households. On January 24th, we've heard about the event, so I won't discuss it again. The event that Mary Ellen spoke about this evening. And the annual volunteer tea will be held on May 10th, and the next meeting is scheduled for February 6th. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll go back to our original point on the agenda, and the next item under the under Tony's report is RFP responses to the golf course club management. And so what I thought Tony would do tonight is give us an overview of each of those. I know those packets are distributed to you. I'm going to go to my office and get my packet, but you can start.
Okay. The proposals were due January 5th, and we received 5 proposals. They are Billy Casper Golf, Kemper Sports, MDM Golf, New England Golf, and Metropolitan Golf Group. And they are separated into technical proposals and pricing proposals. So the pricing is separate from the technical. So you can read through the technical and get a feel for the respondent, what they're all about, what their vision is for the country club, what their experience is, qualifications, all that sort of thing. And then in the separate proposal is a pricing proposal. So you have a separate, easy place to go for the pricing. And just a couple of highlights here. Both Billy Casper Golf and Kemper Sports are big national firms located. One is in Virginia. I think Billy Casper's in Virginia, and Kemper Sports is out in the Midwest, Illinois. Yeah. And so those are big firms. They both stress their national buying power and their sort of the procedures that they have in place, and they have a lot of staff behind them. Billy Casper currently runs 2 courses in Connecticut where they give references. One one's in Bloomfield, the other's Lyman Orchards in Middlefield. Kemper does not have any Connecticut clients, so they both have somewhat similar approaches to food and beverage on their responses. RDC, or Metropolitan Golf Group, also is a somewhat regional firm. I think I was looking at, they had 6 looks like they have 6 active management courses and 13 prior courses that they had managed at one time or another. And they have no Connecticut presence. And they talk about reclaiming the clubhouse and how they would approach the clubhouse, and also they speak of, as do the other two, about branding, creating a brand for the country club, sort of advertising. Those three were big on their advertising, at least from what I read. Then you have New England Golf. New England Golf runs, it looks like they run about 4 or 5 courses. They declined to be involved in food and beverage, according to the proposal. They have it's a smaller group. They run the Island Memorial Course in New England, and they've run that for quite some time. I don't know if you knew it before New England was involved, but it's not in very good shape. And now it's in great shape, so they've done a nice job turning that course around. They've so that they're also a respondent to this, and then finally MDM Golf, whom you all know, our former lessee or lessor, and he also provided MDM Golf provided a response with several options, which you should read through in terms of pricing options which are available, and he runs 5 courses in Connecticut. So those are the 5 responders.
Is MDM the only one that they gave 3 options here? Option 1, 2, 3. Did anyone else
Yes,
do
MDM was
something
the only
like
one that gave options like that. 3 of them have a straight monthly fee. Okay, if you saw Kemper and Billy Casper and Metropolitan. New England's a little different. They have a flat fee of all expenses, and then they would pay all the expenses, and we would pay them 1 fee. So instead of paying $10,000 a month or $20,000 a month, and then the chemicals and the staff and the this and that and the other thing, we would pay them 1 amount, and then they would take care of everything, and they would take the risk and the of all the.
And then there's a revenue sharing.
And then we get all the revenue, and there's revenue sharing. That's structured slightly different than the others. And then Matt's is structured differently. Also, he has 3 options available in his proposal.
Right, but I think as part of all 3 of those was he'd be providing golf carts and
Right.
as opposed to the other.
There's a lot of moving parts here. I mean, if you look at New England Golf, they say that during the off season, drainage will be added in certain areas of the golf course near greens and tees to improve the appearance and playability. Specifically, they say the tees. They also indicate they'll do a lot of tree pruning and removal around the greens, and that will all be done at their expense. So that's yet another part of this. It's complex, and you have to really do a lot of analysis of all these proposals.
And then a number of these, I think it's Billy Casper and the other one that was maybe Kemper, that's distant.
Yes.
Illinois.
We're talking about travel expenses.
Yeah,
Right.
How often would we expect them to?
That's a good question. I
They're
would imagine.
coming out, they gotta come out from,
Casper capped it.
come up from Virginia
Right.
to,
Casper capped it. I don't know if Kemper did or not.
right, but still, it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
And then those others would, we would be the beneficiary of their purchasing power.
Right.
But we'd have to buy all the equipment.
Right. Correct.
And for them to use
Right.
on the course.
I think Matt's, as you indicated, had
I think he's talking about 60, providing
60 carts,
right.
right.
carts daily, plus the equipment to take care of the course.
In this one, in the New England Golf one, they provide
70, I think?
some equipment. Again, it says some equipment that's not used, but once in a while they would provide, so we wouldn't have to buy it. It has a list of 3 or 4 things that they would use from one of their other properties
Right.
that we wouldn't have to buy.
So do we have any, I guess it's up to to us to decide whether we wanna go with the one which gave us the upfront. We'll pay them whatever their fee, and then we go into a revenue sharing, or if we do it monthly, we need to decide how we kinda wanna come up with that. But I think also part of the long term, whether we wanna spend, how much we wanna spend on equipment, golf carts and all that, because I think at that point we're committing ourselves to being in this for some time.
The other big decision is the facility.
Exactly, and how we get that up to par, to get somebody in there to, no pun intended, so that they can start scheduling events and using that kitchen.
Do you think it's accurate to say that MDM would have, in one of their options here, on option 1, would have the least expense to us as a town, as far as what we have to outlay for capital?
It's probably too early to say that.
I mean, is it?
I think
There's
you-
a lot of questions
a lot
that
of
have to be
questions.
asked.
I think you probably need to interview, some or all of these
Oh,
candidates.
absolutely, yeah, I agree with that.
And get specific questions for each one, so that you fully understand what their proposal is, because there's a lot of different.
I think these have to be analyzed to make sure that we can compare each one to the other, to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples all throughout. And then I know the commission is gonna schedule interviews of hopefully all of these, once they get their understanding of the various proposals, and then have them answer questions related to these proposals, and to see how committed they are to, coming to Woodbridge to do this.
It
And
would be
then,
very helpful to have a chart
right.
once,
Right.
prepared, because I couldn't line these all up.
Yeah, but I was
and-
just thinking about, a matrix would be great, but because you don't necessarily have apples and
Right,
apples,
it's gonna have to be
there's a
Has
lot
to
of
be a-
nuance to it.
a whole
has to
fruit
be a-
salad.
Right.
Yep, it'll be a fruit
You'd have
salad.
to have nourishing or cherries.
Yes and no on each,
Right.
there's so many items, it's a lot of
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a big task.
Big undertaking.
Yep.
Like on Billy Casper Golf, on their pro forma
Right.
for 2012, like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you looked at any of that, but like on dues income,
I asked them that question.
monthly dues,
I know what you're gonna say, yeah.
is that what they estimate as, you have dues what that the members would pay?
I called, because he called, and I asked him that.
Because I was dividing that number by how many members could you really
Yeah,
expect?
that's not what that is. He said that includes everything from members to people who prepay for, they'll have prepaid discounts for, buy 20 and get 10% off, buy 25, get 20%. They have prepaid options, they would have, you could buy blocks, you could buy all different pricing mechanisms that you can do. That's all included in that number. The top number is just people who come off the street, want to pay for one round and leave. That needs to be fleshed out a little more, that number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, with two very large numbers, and I was doing really simplistic math about how many rounds do you get to 482, and how many members really
Right.
equal 988, and it seems really aggressive.
And how we, right.
This is also the one that had 5-year proposal, as opposed to 3.
Yeah, it was 5 years.
Well, as we sit here today, do you have the sense, Ed, that all of these companies are genuinely interested? Or do you get the sense that some of them are kind of throwaways?
No, I think they are all interested, all of them attended the,
Yeah.
the pre-bid, and, some of them, well, they traveled from Virginia and Illinois.
Or just put a Casper for a reference, because it's open here. It says, BCG will retain exclusive right to hire and terminate employees. So how does that match up with what we were looking to do with our commission and with the board? They're not gonna have exclusive right, are they? Or is that gonna?
That's a negotiable item. I think in some of the others, they say they'll, listen to the recommendations of the town. then that can be a subject of negotiation, but I agree.
So I think if we put the right things in order, like background checks and drug testing, all that other stuff that you would expect that they would do anyway, that we would negotiate that.
So as I said, the first meeting of the commission is on Friday, and they'll review these, get these, have a number of, I'm sure a number of questions that they'll want answers to from the bidders, and then they'll schedule interviews to follow up on those, and maybe by our next meeting on the 25th, we can have a joint meeting and bring us up to date on what's happening. Okay? All right, and then the next item on the agenda is an appraisal of the Country Club of Woodbridge with a conservation restriction. And you'll see in your packet, and you'll recall at these public information sessions, there was sentiment expressed that we should explore selling the country club with a conservation restriction. And so one of the first steps you'd have to do to consider that is get an appraisal as to what that would be worth with that restriction. So we have a proposal. Tony, you want to get into the?
Yeah, the proposals from a firm, Wellspeak, Dewis and Kane. And they are a reputable firm who specializes in this type of appraisal. The contract price is $7,500, and we tried to get several competitive quotes for this, called several, and they all referred us to Wellspeak, Dewis and Kane, actually.
I don't understand this sentence.
So, yeah,
Probably the same sentence we don't understand.
the property will be appraised without any consideration of it being a golf course. That one.
That's the sentence I don't understand.
Correct.
Okay.
What was that?
That
The
is.
If you
scope
look
of
under
work,
scope of work.
see the scope of work?
Yeah.
It's our understanding that this appraisal would be of the golf course with a conservation
Right,
restriction.
as it says in the reason for appraisal.
Estimate fair market value of golf only with no alternate use or development potential. But then when you get down to scope of work, it says the property will be appraised without any consideration of it being a municipal golf course. Doesn't make any sense.
Well, unless they're just saying we're gonna eliminate, income stream and all that kind of stuff, but it's not clear. I've got it. Yeah.
It could be.
I'm
So
glad
what
you're as
exactly
confused as
we're
I
looking
was.
for them to do?
To give us what they consider to be an opinion as to the fair market value of the Country Club of Woodbridge with a conservation restriction to be used
To be
only
used exclusively as a golf
or
course.
open space, yeah. And then we get some idea of what that value is, and then if we were to put it up for sale, that
Well, because
restriction.
I think with it to be, well, I guess, just to be used as a golf course only, then it would be
Or
one
open
price.
space.
No one's gonna purchase it for open space.
Correct.
We already own it, but no one's gonna do that. So it would be, there was a conservation restriction on the entire course that it could only be used as. Would it also be able to, if we were to sell the property to be used for development for a certain number of lots? Like if we were able to sell it and somebody came in and developed it for single-family dwelling, a limited number with a conservation restriction that a certain percentage of the property could not be touched.
Well, that sounds like a different appraisal.
Yeah, I think it's better to start with the whole,
This gives
and
you
then to
kind of
see what it
basic,
would be, and then have, see where that takes us.
I just went on it between $7,500 again to tell us that we were to do something else, but.
Well, we've had an appraisal done of 17 of those acres, which was at $2.4 million, which was the subject of the referendum, so we have an idea of.
I know what you're getting at. I mean, it would be nice to have an alternate appraisal of if a portion of it was developed. I'm concerned that we've had a lot of people tell us in some of these meetings that, a golf course is anywhere in the United States is now worth more than $3 million, and no one's buying golf courses right now. And I'm not saying it's that simple, but I was sort of thinking the same thing you were saying when I first read it, and was thinking, could we possibly get more out of these people since they have this golf course expertise? I
Well,
don't know.
but then how many options do we want to ask them to address.
As many as we
10
can for $7,500.
Well, this is clearly what
Just
they're
throw it
gonna
out
give
there.
you,
If they say no, they say
$7,500,
no,
right?
but, you know.
I mean, they're not gonna do, they're not, right? I mean, this is what they're gonna give you for $7,500.
That's correct, we haven't explored alternatives, right?
This was one piece that clearly a lot of folks asked for at those
Right, I
informational
understand, it
sessions.
just seems like
So
$7,500
it's a place
is a
to
lot of
start.
money for them to tell us, this is how much a golf course is worth.
Yep,
Well, I don't know if it's a lot of money or not a lot of money. I mean, you know, whatever
Just to me.
whatever
I
the
agree.
cost is of doing an appraisal, I don't know. But I have a slightly different issue, and it goes back to what you said 3 hours ago at the beginning of the meeting, and that has to do with perception. You know, I hate to get alternatives being driven by an appraisal that we arbitrarily asked for 4 acres, 10 acres, 6 acres, then you've got a perception that that's what you're gonna do. And I don't think that's the way you wanna drive what
a good
happens to that property.
You wanna
So,
take the total.
Right.
I think you wanna,
Right.
to me, this establishes sort of a baseline. And then you go from there to decide how you wanna establish additional values and whether you wanna go in that direction. I think that's a very slippery slope to go down in this, using this as the sled, so to speak. Given what I know about real estate, I mean, $7,500 does not strike me as a huge amount of money for an appraisal of this scope. Am I crazy?
Well, no, you're not, and and this is the only act in town apparently.
Right.
We got other appraisals we contacted referred us to this
Right.
group.
So that's their expertise.
Is that because it's their expertise? or
Correct, their
because
expertise.
They wouldn't touch $7,500?
No, I didn't even get, I didn't
We
get
didn't
into
even talk
that.
about them.
We just called and say, we would like you to appraise X, Y, and Z with these following, you know.
I
He-
thought
he's
some
been
of our
involved in it.
previous, like, I thought it was Mac, I thought someone told me Mac Alvin, we were getting some advice from in the past, or whoever it was. Who
It was
giving
him,
us some
yes.
good advice about what golf courses are selling for, and, you know, they're not selling, but none of them are selling for more than $3 million, and
That's probably a pretty accurate summary.
So is your point that this may be premature to do this? Is that what you're
I
getting
think
at?
so, and I could tell you,
I don't
for
know.
$7,500 that we overpaid for it.
I mean,
So, and I'll tell you that right now, and you can pay me $7,500, but I just think that they're gonna look at the golf course, and they're gonna say, this is what it's worth, if it's only a golf course, it can never be used for anything other than a golf course, unless they just wanna let it go to seed, which would basically be what it, and we wouldn't wanna do that, because then it would cost us too much money to take down the golf club and to just leave it as open space, and no one's gonna purchase it for open space. So we either decide as a town, we wanna run it as a golf course, and we need to figure out how we pay down the debt. Or we need to figure out long-term, do we want to get rid of it, sell it as a golf course, then we need to look at that. Or, as other people have said, develop a part of it.
well, this is meant to help you make that
Yeah,
decision.
I think this is a
But I just
first
think
step.
$7,500 is a lot of money, that's my only concern, I just think it's a lot of money for what they're giving us, and that's, you know, I don't wanna spend.
I like
that
a
much
real
money.
appraisal too, I mean, I see the value in that. I guess that's where I'm a little bit stuck too, is just,
I'd rather wait to see what our newly formed commission has to say about it, and if they think that we need to do this, have them recommend it up to us. But I mean, we can go ahead and vote, but I just think the $7,500,
No, I think we want to move it as a group here now, you know, we want to, this is an issue that came up in the public information sessions, people were recommending, well, you should consider selling it with a conservation easement, well, so I think we have to get a baseline to establish what is this worth. I grant you it's probably going to be 3,000, whatever, 3,500, but I think we need that to start that discussion, if that discussion is necessary. And that's, you know, we can even bring Mr. Dugas here if you want to have further, because this is what he does. He sells golf courses with conservation restrictions, and there are people out there who buy them. People who made a lot of money, individuals, who come in and say, I want to own a golf course. I mean, it's as crazy as that. And so, you know, we've had that discussion with him. So if that'll crystallize this more for you,
I would feel better about it.
okay? So we can do that. We can see if
I
he's
agree, we
available.
gotta establish that number, but it's like, it's one of the choices, and then we have to figure out what the other ones are that are potentially offered, and those are gonna cost money to figure out and research, so.
But you're not, well, but that's only one element in how you're going to sit down and process what those choices are. And I don't think we really established how we are going to sort of take on that long range.
We haven't, no, but this is a tool
processing.
you would need.
This is just a
Right.
tool
Right.
that you would need, I agree with that. I agree with that. It can't hurt to have him come in and
Yeah,
chat
so
with us.
it can educate all of us.
Yeah,
Okay. We'll try to get him here
he
for our
definitely knows a lot about this.
February meeting.
Maybe we'll get a clarification on the scope of work as well. at the
Right,
same
yeah,
time.
right,
Okay. We can do that.
Okay.
It's none of us
Good point.
understood.
Yeah,
Right.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is our next one?
Okay, the next item on our agenda is a resignation. Julie DeFrancia resigned from CUPOP, and she is a Democrat, and we have an appointment for that. You'll see in your packet a resume of Sheila McCrevin. So is there someone here who wants to nominate
I'll
Sheila?
nominate Sheila McCrevin.
Is there a
Yeah, we
second?
first have to accept the resignation.
Oh,
Okay,
okay,
we'll vote to accept the
I'll move
resignation.
that.
Okay,
with regret.
is there a second?
Second, with regret.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. And now is there a nomination of Sheila McCrevin to fill the unexpired term of Judy DeFrancia to June 30, 2013 at CUPOP?
I'll nominate Sheila.
Is there a second?
She's been active in town government since 2001. She was instrumental in getting the Government Access Television Commission up and running when it was first created. And I think, given CUPOP and the fact that it's been not as active as it could have been, she would likewise be able to help get CUPOP revitalized. She has a lot of enthusiasm for doing this. This commission can play an important role in our town and requires dedicated creative commissioners, and Sheila will be a great addition to CUPOP.
Okay, is there a second to that nomination? You understand? Okay, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next, welcome back our administrative officer,
Sure.
who was, underwent some surgery and is fully recovered, and has just returned, as a matter of fact, from a meeting in Wallingford about the status of our postal service. And you want to report on that?
I do indeed, because for the TV audience as well as us, if we get out of here by 10, you can see it on Channel 17, or at 11 p.m. you can see it on Channel 8. There was a very intense meeting held at the Villa Capri. It was sponsored by the U.S. Postal Service. There were probably 300 or 400 people in the room, many of whom were postal employees. It was really a Wallingford meeting because of concerns of facility in Wallingford that they want to shut down and move the mail further north to come back to Woodbridge and other places. It was hostile. We were well represented by Congresswoman DeLauro, who made a fantastic speech, which was well received by everyone. Also present with another good speech was Senator Blumenthal, and then the third representative from Washington was Representative Chris Murphy. And the meeting, I escorted Constance Eklund up there. We got there a half an hour early. The parking lot was full. I wound up parking on the grass. They wound up parking, and it was like a big funeral wake trying to get into the building. I don't know if you've been up there, but it's a pretty big building, and they had lots and lots of chairs. The key to the whole thing is that the Postal Service is trying to study something called AMP, which is Area Mail Processing, a feasibility study. There is currently a big facility in Wallingford that does just this. Our mail goes from here, other than Woodbridge. Every other piece of mail goes from here up to Wallingford, gets resorted and redistributed. They would propose to close the Wallingford facility and cause unemployment to about 300 people. A couple of signs clearly came from the unions, but the first one was save U.S. Postal Service, keep overnight delivery, because they're talking about 3-day delivery now, which can please people. And 1-day service, not 3-day. all of the Washington all three of the Washington representatives were very consistent that they do want to save some money, but they don't want to cut the neck off the chicken and then let it run around on its own. Constance and I escaped at about 7:15.
Escaped.
Well, it was going to be a pretty hostile crowd. Now it's about cowards, so I said, no, it was time to get out. Fortunately, just as we were leaving, there was a medical emergency, so we got out just in time because there were 2 fire trucks and a big ambulance thing. Bill Dickinson, the mayor of Wallingford, whom you know, made quite a good speech also. But it was a very intense, I've never seen anything other than a couple of our local things like LED fields and stuff like that, where the passions were as rampant as they were in this thing. It was really interesting. What we're going to try and do, we don't need to have Rosa do anymore, she's already, but I think we should try and get something organized as a town. Because what will also come as an outgrowth of this is some of the post offices getting changed. That's not what the subject matter was tonight. It was basically just this one thing. But the feelings were very strong. And so I suggest to do it. Constance took some pretty good notes. She and I are going to get together either Thursday or Friday, and I'll make you a presentation when we get it. It's very intense. And it was the work that was done by the speakers, both the labor speakers and the representatives and other people, they were all well prepared, very well prepared. Towards the end, it got a little bit hostile. They did ask for people to be civil. They didn't interrupt the senator or the 2 representatives. Other people would get interrupted. I'd like to see civilness get returned to these public forums because we'd be much better off for it. But I'm glad you sent me, and it was a good learning session, and I think we're going to get a lot out of it. The fact that we had the 3 people there, Senator Blumenthal and our 2 representatives, it was a strong labor force, but they seem to be and a couple of them serve on committees in Washington that impact with the post office system. So they've got a better idea about it than most. This thing was not all that well publicized, I don't think. I don't think that the populace, the public has any idea what this plan was that the post office is talking about. They do need to save money, there's no question about it. The question is, do you kill that which is good, like first-class mail delivery, or not? Save the baby and throw out the bathwater? Not reverse it? Don't know.
I prefer those bills.
Sir?
Delivering the bill, but
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, do we have any other business? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.